Okay, so I don't usually do Valheim news videos, but today we had an avalanche of news and I just could not pass the opportunity to talk about it. Hi, I'm Gwen the Shieldmaiden, I'm a Valheim nerd, and welcome to my channel. So without further ado, let's first head to the Steam community post that was posted today, 25th of May 2022, and examine what's been announced. So the post is titled Lighting the Forge, and it goes... Hello Vikings, it was a lot of fun to see your response to the constructions we showed off last time. It seems many of you are looking forward to seeing them in game. If you've been paying attention to Twitter in the past few weeks, you might also have seen a couple of additional teasers, some more revealing than others, as individual developers have hinted at what they're working with. Something you definitely don't want to miss is the big trap that Jonathan showed some work in progress footage of last week, which will also feature in the Mistlands update. It'll be great for catching enemies, but you'd best be careful and watch where you're stepping to. And there's an image of the infamous bear trap that we've seen on Twitter last week. And we've talked about it a little bit on the Podheim episode 20, I believe. Podheim is our Valheim podcast with Jirok the Viking and a couple of the other admins of his server. If you haven't heard about it yet, go check it out. Podheim is on pretty much every podcasting app that you could imagine, and also on YouTube. And you can find the link in the description as well. So before we talk about the different weapons that we've seen and been hinted at, let's first go back to this post and check out some of those links that they've added. So where they talk about the additional teasers, some more revealing than others. Let's see what that first post is about. And if we head to Twitter, we can see that it links first to a post from Grimcore, or Robin Eyre, who's one of the developers and 3D artists for Valheim. We actually interviewed him on Podheim as well, and I have on my channel a full interview and live stream that we did on his birthday actually, where we asked him a bunch of questions about Mistlands and other things. You can see the full video on my channel, but there's also clips of the interview that I've been posting, so definitely go check that out if you're interested in what Grimcore has to say. But on this post from the 3rd of May, he posted, "My favorite place to hang out though, Dimkenston, Mist Coast. I'm looking to invest some property there. Very nice swimming over there." And if we click on the picture, here's what we see. We see his character up there on a cliff, lots of very interesting rock formations and a river or maybe a lake that's just under, lots of green, I'm guessing moss on the rocks, as well as some trees. There's some trees on the side of the frame as well. And it's all very misty. Makes sense, it's the Mistlands after all, but you can tell there's a lot of humidity in the air, which is quite interesting. The second picture shows an interesting ruins, what looks like an aqueduct or some sort of bridge. Looks like it's got vegetation on it as well. And the third picture is just a different angle from the same shot with that interesting rock formation and water underneath. The second post that they're referring to of being not very revealing is this tweet from Jonathan Smars, who's another of the programmers on Valheim, and he posted a little tongue-in-cheek post saying Mistlands source code partially leaked, and with a screenshot of basically 3 words out of a line of code, which obviously isn't so revealing. So yep, that's what they're referring to in the post. And if we go back to that Steam post, they talk also about the big trap that Jonathan showed some work in progress footage of, and that is of course this post. If you've missed it, it's a video posted on Twitter by Jonathan as well, saying, "Don't these just look like so much fun?" And they do. It's basically a massive, what looks like a hunting trap, like a bear trap, that instantly kills the character and takes a lot of damage, makes a lot of damage on this troll here. So yeah, that's a new item that we'll get with the Mistlands. It's confirmed now that it will come out with the Mistlands update. We also spoke about this new base defense item quite at length on the Podheim episode. It looks like it's a different metal, a new metal that's used. We have a few ideas of how to use it and so on. So check out that Podheim episode if you're interested in more discussion around this new item. But for now, if we go back to that Steam post, we can carry on reading down the post because that's not it, there's more. So they posted a fun picture here. They're saying, meanwhile in the office, we have acquired some weapon and shield props. The shields being the real deal, but the weapons, not so much. To have both as general inspiration, but also to help us with making even cooler attack animations in the future. And most importantly, they make Valheim creator Richard feel like a badass. And so I assume this is Richard here sporting a interesting hooded cape that we'll talk about in a second, but he's got a big round shield and what looks like a sword. I wonder, it looks like maybe it's a foam sword or resin maybe. It's a bit shiny, but it doesn't look like metal, to be honest. I think it might be a foam sword. Maybe that's why they're saying it's not so much the real deal. The shield, however, it's really interesting. It's a round shield with a metal boss that is definitely metal. It looks like it's got the proper handle at the back, because we can see the nails at the front, and between the nails you would have a bar that you hold to hold the shield. Interestingly enough, the shield has a metal rim, which is interesting. I've not seen that much. I don't know enough about the Viking era to know if it was a thing, but what's more common is to see that rim being leather that's nailed or stitched onto the wood. We actually had Monty, who's a community manager at Irongate, as a guest on our Podheim episode, and we found out then that she is a reenactor. She does actual Viking reenactment and fighting and so on. So I asked her if she was actually trying to influence some of the decisions, or at least guide the rest of the Irongate team in terms of like what would be accurate Viking weapons and foods and clothes and things like that. And we had a lengthy discussion about that. It seems like maybe she's getting her way and she's pushing the Irongate team towards, you know, more historical accuracy. If that's the case, I'm super happy about it. But yeah, either way, it's probably a good idea to have real life props just to see how things move and are held and so on, what would be kind of the proper way to do it and make the animations look natural as well. They should have done that for Elden Ring. I'm still so upset about those shields being held so stupidly, but that's another conversation. Another thing that we can see on this picture is this hooded cape that he's wearing, and I believe it looks a lot like the Odin's cape in the game, which is a DLC item that only beta testers can get. And if they've got that in real life, that's really cool. It's kind of a little bit like a Valheim cosplay, which we don't see enough of, so really exciting. So that's a fun little picture. Then they go on to revealing the big thing for today that everyone will be speaking about, I'm sure. So the post goes, but on to the teasers we know you are all waiting for. This month, we'd like to share with you a piece of concept art of a new crafting station, which you will need to craft many of the Mistlands tier weapons. After all, a regular forge can only get you so far, and to battle what you'll find in the Mistlands, you'll need something with a little extra. Okay, so let's unpack this. So first of all, this confirms that we will get new weapons with the Mistlands, but we kind of already knew that. They teased at it before. What's interesting though is a phrasing in this suggesting that maybe not all Mistlands weapons would need to be crafted on this new forge. So maybe some of them we can actually craft before entering the biome. The second thing here, which they also hinted at and discussed at length on interviews and so on, is it looks like Mistlands is going to be really scary. The fact that they keep putting out new weapons, base defense, they keep saying that, you know, we'll have to be armed with a lot of courage to go in the Mistlands. It seems like it's going to be a scary biome with potentially crazy mobs and spooky things. So yeah, that's quite exciting. We will talk about this new forge in more detail in a second, but first I want to finish reading this post and then we'll kind of dive into the details. So the next reveal that they do, they say it has also been far too long since there were any new fungi? Wait, how do we pronounce that? How to pronounce?
Fungi.
Fungi. Wait.
Fungi.
Yeah, so definitely fungi then. All right, so new fungi for you to discover. Other than the regular red mushrooms in the meadows and the glowing yellow mushrooms found in the Black Forest, you will soon be able to cook with a couple of Mistlands variants as well. Exactly what recipes they will be used for we'll keep to ourselves for a bit longer, but here you have a first look at what shape and colors the mushrooms themselves might be. And there's this cool picture of two variations of mushrooms. So the post carries on. Last time we mentioned a patch which will resolve some issues with the Cloudsync. This is still in the works, though we want to include an update of the game engine before we invite you all to test it. We feel this is an important thing to get done before releasing the Mistlands, as it could result in a smoother experience for everyone. Rest assured though that this technical patch is not taking any significant development time away from the biome. It seems like they are doing some things to improve the game from a technical perspective as well. Cloudsync is an issue that we encounter sometimes, where the game would glitch out. You would see objects flying around, especially when you're playing with multiple players. It seems like sometimes things are a bit out of sync in the way that they render for different people. So it's good to see that they are doing these updates and looking after the game from a technical perspective as well as a content perspective. And then the post goes on to showcase the build of the month. That's something that they've been doing for the past couple of months, just showcasing builds from the community. Anyone can submit. And the post here says this month it was exceptionally hard to select a build to share here, as there were just so many good ones. Finally, we managed to settle on this longhouse that Irongate posted, and we hope that you can agree that it was a worthy choice. If you would like your own building to be shared in the next blog post, simply use the hashtag VALHEIMBOTM when posting on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram. If we head to Twitter, we can see Irongate's post, and if we check out the images, we see this beautiful longhouse that looks pretty legit. I like the shape. It definitely looks like a longhouse. It's got the very long shape with a cool angled roof. It's got like a nice decoration at the top, the entrance on the side, as it would be the case for a longhouse, some shelters all the way around for wood and so on. I like that the little decorative touches that player has put in with some cot boxes lying around and things like that. It definitely looks lived in. I like also the little touch of the fence being a little bit destroyed in some places. You know, it makes it look, again, more lived in. I like that. And that's pretty much it on the Steam community post, but we did get some other news on Twitter today, posted by Grimcore. He posted an image and the caption says, "Hey, we are doing good. The food is awesome here. Had some meat last night. Went skinny dipping today with a friend. From Mistlands with love, XOXOXO. P.S. Please restock the meat chest. Make sure Major is getting my hugs. Also, play with George." And if we take a look at the image here, it's another screenshot of apparently the Mistlands. And it is really intriguing. There's a player skinny dipping, and then another player just sitting in the sun, surrounded by what looks like new vegetation. So there's definitely a lot to unpack on these multiple posts, and let's do a bit of a deep dive on some of those images. Let's maybe start with the obvious one that grabbed everyone's attention, which is this new image of a new workstation that will come out with the Mistlands. First of all, it's very obvious that this is only a concept art at this stage. It doesn't seem like the item has been modeled in the game yet, but we can start looking at some of the details on that concept art and try to make out what they could be. And also there's this thing in the background. I'm guessing it's Hugin. Is that Hugin? Yeah, I think it might be Hugin, and he's probably going to pop up and try to school us about this new item once we place it in the game. But yeah, if we zoom in a little bit and look at this forge, first of all, it's got a really interesting shape. It's kind of curved, which will be held to place against straight walls, but it will be really cool for roundhouse builds, I guess. But yeah, it's an interesting shape. It looks a bit futuristic. The general vibe of this is giving me a little bit of like steampunk, futuristic Vikings in space vibes. Like a bit of a Marvel look to it, especially with those metal bits here that are crossed and some of the detail. So we see, for example, on the side, it looks like it's some embers or ember effect on the sides here. There's a big open fire, melted metal that is going through the whole length of the table. In terms of tools on the table itself, we can see an anvil, there's a hammer, there's holding tongs, and what looks like it might be hardy tools, which are used generally by blacksmiths for cutting, bending, or shaping metal as they work it. So yeah, pretty cool looking forge. Again, it's giving me very Vikings in space vibes, which is interesting. And here it looks like it could be a forge cooler. It's full of what could be water, but could also be some mysterious new liquid that is steaming. I'm not sure why it would be steaming, so maybe it's a special forge cooler. It looks a bit magical and mystical. It's kind of cool. And both the forge and the forge cooler have these new color of metal and these details and decoration around it. Yeah, I'm guessing this is the workbench and this is the upgrade to the workbench. And yeah, let's see, maybe we get more upgrades as well. And this, of course, confirms what we already knew, which is that we will get new weapons to craft in the game. We already had some previews of a crossbow. There's a lot of speculation around it. Is this iron? Is this some different sort of metal? It looks kind of a little bit green. It's got these red details. I kind of thought that that would probably be an item that's made with black metal. Let's see, but either way, it's really exciting to have a crossbow and a different type of ranged weapon. So it's really cool. We'll also get a different type of bow, which is the one that we saw modeled. Looks like it's made out of skeleton. It's really cool. And again, it could be a different type of metal that's used there. It could be one of the existing metals like black metal or iron. Who knows? We'll see. And then, of course, the latest one added to this new pack of weapons is this bear trap that we have seen last week. That definitely looks like a different type of metal. That does not look like copper, iron, black metal, or anything bronze that we have. It's definitely something that looks more brassy, I would say. So it's probably a new metal that we'll have to mine in the Mistlands. But yeah, big scary weapon or base defense there. And all of those will probably need to be forged on this new forge. So that's quite exciting. So next I want to talk about this new picture of the Mistlands that we got today. And what strikes me is the contrast with the previous images that we got, especially this one that we're all familiar with. This image and some of the other more recent ones we got of the Mistlands is everything is very misty and the environment is like hazy, which kind of makes sense because it is the Mistlands after all. The lights are very dimmed. You can't really see the sun rays come through. There's lots of rocks. Looks like a harsh environment. Same with these images that were posted recently. You can tell there's lots of rocks, not a huge amount of vegetation and greenery other than the moss on the rocks and the trees that you can see. So that to me was an interesting contrast with this image, which looks very summery. There's actual sunlight that's cast on the floor. It's making even shadows with what could be a tree or a branch. You can see the air looks pretty clear. There's grass. It looks quite luscious. There's grass on both ends. There's new plants here. So I was a bit surprised by that because it didn't quite match the recent images I got and the idea I had in my head of the Mistlands. The one thing that we can see in common is that, of course, there's the presence of water, which again makes sense. It's a Mistland, so we can expect a lot of humidity and water. You can see it again in these images. There's lots of rivers and lakes and water points and so on. What's also striking me is these buildings that we've seen. So this one that is hinted here, it's confirmed in some other images that we got of this ruined building. It looks like it's again a different type of metal, maybe a different type of rock. And this other image, which could be a dungeon or an in-game kind of generated building. And those look kind of harsh and very kind of blocky compared to the image that we see of this lovely pond and greenery and plants and so on. And same here with the dungeon concept art that we've seen that looks, again, very spooky, very dark, very sticky. But here we can see there's already a lot more grass and there's some glowy elements here, which could be the new plants and new mushrooms. So that's the contrast that I'm a bit surprised by. However, if we look back at one of the sneak previews that we got of the Mistlands that was posted on March the 1st, I believe, I think that's where it's starting to come together for me. So this was a concept art that was posted in one of the Steam community updates that Irongate posted. The caption said, "We also want to share this other lovely piece of concept art made by our concept artist, which greatly captures the feeling that we want to achieve in these strange lands. What do you think you'll find in the mists?" And that to me is the key thing, is this feeling that it gives you. So there's this hazy, mysterious, you can't see really the environment, but then there's like pockets of something that looks more peaceful and more comfortable. And that to me is reflected in this image that they showed. So the other thing that I find interesting is in between all the rocky formations, it looks like you might have some patches of greenery, maybe valleys where it's a lot more green. You've got grass, you've got plants, and a little bit of a less harsh environment, maybe even some sunlight. But yeah, that to me kind of connects the images that we got more recently of all the rocky formations with this image, this new image we got. So it's kind of starting to make sense to me. And one of the things that is revealed, of course, with this image and the Steam post is around the flora, some of the plants that we see. And so we'll talk about the fauna and the flora in a bit more detail. So we have these interesting looking plants, grass. It's, to me, it reminds me a bit of the red grassy flowers that we see in the plain. So I don't think those will be items that we can interact with. It's just there to be pretty, to be in the environment. We can see also some bushes, maybe trees. It could be just leaves from trees, but the colors are really interesting. To me, it reminds me of the jungle kind of almost. And then we've got these two concept arts for new fungi that we will find in the Mistlands, which are again a little bit mystical, but I like that there's a mix of colors of warm and colder tones as well. So it looks like the Mistlands is not going to be as dreary as it is now. It looks like they are including color in it and a variety of color, which I'm really excited about. And just overall, this gives me a bit of a jungle vibe, and same with some of the runes that we have. They kind of remind me of kind of the Amazonian with Maya runes hidden in the forest, that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's taking a different direction than what I expected initially with the old Mistlands, with all the really spooky dead trees and all the spider webs and so on. It looks like maybe this is going to be a lot more of a rich environment with lovely flora and probably also really nice fauna, which we have also heard about a little bit. We've seen the rabbits that we'll have, we've seen the moth. These, I think, will probably be animals that we see kind of hanging out in the forest. I don't think there'll be mobs. Maybe the moth will be, but the rabbits don't look all that menacing, so it's more likely to be maybe just fauna that's just hanging out, and maybe that you can harvest as a food resource or for materials. Maybe the moth you'll have to harvest for silk and stuff like that. So yeah, those look not too scary so far, which makes me a little bit scared at what they're hiding from us and not showing us yet. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that kind of wraps it up for all the updates. I've gone on for a lot longer than I thought. I had a lot of thoughts to share, and I really wanted to talk about these new items. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what comes with the Mistlands update. It seems like we're getting closer and closer from that launching finally. So very excited. Thanks for following along. If you made it till the end, thank you so much. I've been Gwen the Shieldmaiden. If you liked the video, give it a little like. If you want to subscribe, that would be wonderful. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.